Look, I think we're poised and ready to make a statement in the NFC South this year. I mean, there's no dominant team in the NFC South. Yes, the Tampa Bay Bucks have won the division the last couple of years in a row here, and Baker Mayfield is by far the most established quarterback and playing really well. The rest of the teams have young, maybe not quite as established starters. Bryce Young in Carolina, who finished the season really strong last year. I love his journey and the adversity that he overcame last year. And they're an up-and-coming team. But Michael Penix kind of starts that era in Atlanta. And here we go, Spencer Rattler, getting his opportunity with the Saints. I think top to bottom, the Saints roster is really, really strong. One of the best offensive lines in football, one of the most dynamic running backs in Alvin Kamara, who can do everything for you. And then two extremely explosive receivers in Olavi and Shaheed, not to mention a lot of other pieces to the puzzle. Defensively, tons of great veteran leadership and presence in Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, tons of young guys that have been drafted over the last couple of years at every level of the defense. So, look, I love the position they're in. I think they're flying under the radar right now. Kellen Moore, everyone seems to love. I think he really has, kind of like the pulse of that team and has really kind of created an offseason and a structure that's really gotten those guys, ready to play. And look, I love his offensive scheme as well. So, man, all the way around, I think the Saints are in a position to maybe surprise some people.
I was listening to an interview or several interviews with Kellen Moore, and I got to say, just so much more authority than I expected him to have. You mentioned Spencer Rattler being named starter for the Saints. You had mentioned at one point that Jake Haener actually reminded you of yourself. I'm curious, though, when you're evaluating quarterbacks now, what do you look for that's maybe changed from when you first got in the league? Like, is it leadership? Is it the amount of time that they've played? For you looking at someone to be successful in this league, what attributes are you looking for?
First and foremost, I think having a lot of college experience really, really helps. In fact, I would say a guy, in order to be at a level where he's really ready to be a great NFL starter, I think he's got to have 50 plus starts under his belt as a combination of, high level college and pro. In other words, if a guy's coming into the league having only started 1 year in college, call it 13, 14, 15 games, he still has 2 years ahead of him before I think he's really ready. I mean, go back in time and tell me a guy who came in with only 1 or 2 years of college experience and made an instant impact. On the flip side, you take guys that had a wealth of college experience. Brock Purdy, 52 starts or something at Iowa State, comes in a backup role into San Francisco and has immediate success. Bo Nix last year, a ton of starts in college, 61, ended up having a really successful rookie season. Jane Daniels, a lot of starts at ASU, then goes to LSU, and then, had the success he had last year. So there's tons of examples of that, in addition to, the guys that didn't have the starts really kind of struggling as they came in. So I think that, and then obviously combine that with the team around them and, the factors that, really help position a quarterback to have success. A great defense, great run game. Those are definitely key ingredients to having success as a QB. But I think all in all, it's experience.
Y'all obviously heard Drew give a really good breakdown about the Saints team. He talked about Alvin Kamara, he talked about the offense, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. He mentioned a lot of valid points, and then the lady kind of transitioned it to talking about another team. But I thought that was a good game that Drew was dropping insofar as him talking about 50 games of experience for a quarterback to be ready for the pros. So that's really good game from Drew. And one season is not what we see from Tyler Shuck. And people understand that, man, and know that, that's the case. He's right. Jaden Daniels played a lot of time at ASU before he came and got recruited to come to LSU and ball out of control. He eventually won the Heisman. But who you seen Jaden Daniels as with the Arizona State Devils, I think they were. The logo is, or motto or whatever. It was a difference. When you look at him over there, getting a lanky kid who had some passing ability, who scrambled a lot, and then LSU took him and turned him into a Heisman Trophy winning first round draft pick franchise style quarterback, was awesome. But yes, it's not like Shuck didn't try. Tyler Shuck tried to play football for 7 years. His body was only good for 1 year. The man had 7 years. Most of the time he was backing up some really good quarterbacks. And then the other time he was hurt. So, he got the good year at the end, but these guys see something in him. We know that he's not quite ready yet, but it's only one way you're going to get ready. You don't have the games. You gotta learn live time. And however you get it, you're going to have to study and you're going to have to work your butt off. But in the end, Drew made some great points. And I think is the nation or the national scene sees the Saints as a team that is, that's not going to be a very good team. So I started the broadcast with Drew. Shout out to Drew as well. All right, all world say you need to do a Tulane channel. Q first game tomorrow. Yeah, Green Wave got love for the Green Wave, man. My nephew went to Tulane, man. He played basketball there. He's pretty good. He in the top 15 in the scoring list there. So he got his degree there. So Tulane was always one of my favorites. The beautiful thing about the Saints situation, the projection is a lot of the national media people see the Saints as a team that's not going to win very many games. Let's just keep it honest. They see the Saints as a team that's on the mend, a team that is people keep saying rebuild, even though they had a guy put an article out about the Saints showing that, the Saints are a team that's, their age is somewhere around 26, 27 years old. So the team is going to get younger, but gradually. You'll lose Cam, you'll lose DeMario. We lost Tyron this year, so the team is definitely going to get. They're going to get younger gradually, but you would like to do it in a way. That's what Mick. I told people about this. Mick Loomis doesn't like rebuilds. He doesn't like it. That's why he invests in veteran players and attempts to draft younger players and get them. To get the veterans to mentor the younger players and then provide a mesh where they come up gradually, you're right, and keep a certain status quo. But Drew made a great point about the Steelers, not so much about Aaron Rodgers. I don't give a damn about Aaron Rodgers. But in the end, he made a great point about the consistency of what the Pittsburgh Steelers is. Since the 70s, they had, a handful of coaches, 4 or 5 coaches. Since their inception, they win damn near every year because they have an identity. And regardless of who the coach is, even though Mike Tomlin, over his great time there, he kind of made more offensive innovation, but they never lost their identity. A gritty team that runs the ball, that plays rock'em sock'em defense, and has solid special teams. Very simple, old school unit thinking. So we could take something from that, man, and move it forward. But in the thinking, the Saints defense, transitioning from a 43 to a 34 style defense, has a lot of positives to it, especially how they played through the entirety of the preseason into the training camp, into preseason, and how consistent they were in terms of how they pretty much dominated the offense. The offense, was up and down. Now we see to win, you don't need to have 3 or 4 years of rebuild. I keep saying the same thing over and over again. I don't know what people are looking at or how they're gauging their team, but the Saints are not how many damn times I got to keep saying this stuff, man? The Saints are, hey, Who Dat Nation? Great Saint thing. I have to tell you that, but some of these people, y'all, the Saints are not a team. Don't listen to these national media people. They have a skewed perception of the Saints because they're grading it based on the quarterback position and the coach. You got a young coach that's here and you got a young quarterback, right? But most of the rest of the team is a veteran team. You got talent everywhere. Guys are healthy. And the moves that Kellen Moore made, he got better backups on the offensive line. They're going to need time to get it together, but they're better than the guys that were there during the preseason. That's real. Torres Simpkins is by far the crowning jewel of what we found in Velus Jones out of the preseason. I said over and over again, the Saints are not a team that requires 3 to 4 years worth of drafts to get ready to play playoff football. That's not who we are. And people keep looking at the team and they missing the point that the reason the team failed the last 4 years is not because the talent wasn't there. They were bringing people on the team every damn year. The problem was the stupid possum-faced head coach you had here the last 4 years. The guy didn't know what the hell he was doing. And I don't understand if I can yell it from the highest mountain to make people understand how terribly important it is for you to have a head coach that know what he's doing. Look at Mike Tomlin. If you take Mike Tomlin, pull him away and put him away from the Steelers and transpose him into a Saints head coach, he going to get the winning right away. Why? Because he's going to establish the trenches on both sides of the football. He's going to get the running game going. He's going to add speedy talent to the wide receiver room. And he's going to have a quarterback, even if it's a young quarterback, regardless of what type of quarterback he has there, they're going to have success Because if you got a young quarterback that's there that got to learn the ropes and get better over time, you got to give them access to a running game. You got to give them a good defense, and you got to give them quality special teams play. If you can do that, then you can win right away. You can execute and win games. If you don't have a head coach that has accountability, who stands 10 toes down for his team, that if guys don't play right, he pulls them out of there and does stuff like that, then you're going to have a team that is. So when people do their breakdowns and accounts on the Saints from the past, they astutely forget the dumb coach that was on top of the team. The guy didn't have any brains. He had stupid assistants that he didn't check. He turned the offense over to a guy and didn't put nothing on him to do something with it. When the offensive line wouldn't block or was failing and all this type of shit, did he make an offensive line change to bring another offensive line coach in there? What I mean, or give the assistant the opportunity to run the team from the offensive line standpoint. Maybe the assistant has. When you're in a 6, 4, a 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, 6, and then a 7-game losing streak, and you're not switching out personnel, something's wrong. The guy didn't do none of that, man. He didn't do that for years. He sat on his ass and tore up his own team. And now it comes out that most of the players on the team didn't like him. Well, big whoop. We know they didn't like him. We see how the team responded to his coaching style, that they didn't like the guy. It took you to fire the guy. So what I'm saying is that has a major impact on how this team is underachieved year after year. And even when they had an opportunity to take a step forward, when they got to the stage, they would fail because they wasn't ready. They wasn't made like that. You can't have that. That team was a lacking ass team and it was lacking because of that stupid head coach we had last year, in the last 4 years, and that dumb general manager you got. That is what happened. The Saints have good players everywhere that are healthy right now. The thing is also be aware and know that whatever the Saints offense is, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen their offense. We've seen vanilla play calls. That's why I made the joke about the ice cream yesterday on the other show. I kind of got myself and half the Who Dat Nation hungry as hell for ice cream, was because of the terminology of the vanilla playbook, which means they wasn't using the plays that they usually would use during the regular season to not give the ops opportunities to learn what they were doing. So we don't know what their playbook looks like right now. We think it'll be similar to what Philly's running, but it'll be a variation. We know they're going to run the ball. The man got 4 running backs on the team that all look differently. You know, all these running backs got a different running style to them. We know that the man, I talked about it yesterday on the stream. I talked about how he's building a track team. Like, all these dudes got high 40 times. They got 40 times out the wazoo. Everybody could run and move. The fact that he kept Matavo as a tight end, and this could change. He might add one, maybe not. But you have to be, the Matavo had a high draft grade and really should have went higher than a 7th round selection, both him and Fadil Diggs. But you got him in the 7th round. You know, I talked about the development of having a good draft class where you draft all 9 players and 8 of them make the team, and 1 barely didn't make the team because of Chris Rump II, who Brandon Staley brung in to the defense. Also Bullard, he brung Bullard into the defense and got Saunders out of here. So the reality is that the Saints have readily improved the defense. We've seen it in practice. We know that the defense has potential. We know that the offense with Blake Grupe is awesome. He's going to be a phenomenal kicker for it. He was special this whole damn preseason and the training camp. He missed 1 kick the whole damn training camp and preseason, and that's because it was raining and he kicked it in while it was wet out there. Phenomenal. Nuke punter, Kai Kroger, who was punting his ass off out there. Great hang time, directional ability, and the returners. Saints even in Trey Palmer. And then the improvement, like I said, what I see is it's not a finished product, but when you see, you have access to all the tools that you need to improve a team. If you draft well, it'll expedite the process. If you bring in undrafted talent, it'll expedite the process. If you bring in free agents that fit, and if they look good at first and then don't look good later, you go and take them out of here and put better backups in here, which is what the Saints did. They weren't pleased with what they were seeing by personnel, and they got busy. They got busy going into the first week, picking up guys off the waiver wire, trying to trade for guys. They got super busy in an attempt to move and shape the team and get them ready. But that's not it. The team is still going to change as the year goes forward, because Kellen Moore, that shows me that Kellen Moore is dialed into the needs, and he's actually doing evaluations on this team. He's doing evaluations. The reason why I'm saying all that, fam, and some of the family members know why I'm saying this, is because I think we're being undervalued to a degree, and that's fine. We can play the underdog role. It don't matter to me how they feel about the black and gold. All I know is that Kellen Moore will focus on getting his team to execute. And that's all I can ask for them. They'll grow organically and they will get better throughout the year. If you got Alvin Kamara, you got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and then you had all these other players around. Issues with that line. But we have to improve. If guys don't play well, you think Kellen Moore is going to, if Ruiz is still open a door for people to run his quarterback off into an incompletion, how long you think that's going to last before Torricelli Simpkins get in there? How long you think that's going to last? You think that type of shit going to happen this year? Like I said, when it surprised me about the identity or the mindset of the team going forward when they put Isaiah Foskey in the street. Dennis Allen would have never cut Foskey. Foskey looked worse last year than he looked this year. That's the truth. But he made the team. DeMarco Jackson got beat out by Anthony Orji, but Anthony Orji ended up on it. DeMarco ended up on the team. You know, this type of stuff was happening and keeping players and people that was not performing because he liked the player. Never mind the fact the guy got outperformed. That didn't happen. DeMarco Jackson, Isaiah Foskey, and those guys got put in the street. Jake Hayner, a guy that would have made the team under Dennis Allen and ain't doing nothing. They put that boy in the street. Why? Because they opened up another slot for the wide receivers to play. Because you got a returner in Trey Palmer, another speedster, and the Saints are going to look at having those 4 and 5 wide receiver package to stretch out defenses so they don't stand up there and think they're going to jam pack the box and stop Alvin Kamara. That's what that's for. So, like I said, man, we don't know until we know. That's a reality. But I'm going to just tell y'all, like I'm going to tell you again, a lot of these outside national people, they don't know the Saints like you know the Saints. They're looking at the quarterback position. And we know that a team can still win games even if they have regular or average play from the quarterback. They can still win games. The star of the show, for offensively speaking, is Alvin Kamara. You got a healthy Kendre Miller. Nobody, I'm talking about the health of the Saints outside of Penning being with a turf toe situation. And right now, that might be a little bit better for us because Dylan Redunce is a better guard than Trevor Penning. Right now, I would even say Torricelli Simpkins is a better guard than Trevor Penning. Let's keep it all the way funky. Come on now. Come on. Dylan Redunce is a better guard right now than Trevor Penning. Penning hadn't done it enough to be better than a guy that been doing it for the last 3 to 4 years. And Torricelli Simpkins is better than Trevor Penning at guard right now. But the issue is, too, is that we have to see if and I'm telling you, that's not going to be tolerated if Cesar Ruiz don't get his shit straight. If he don't get it straight, I'm telling y'all, off the TOP, that guy going to be pulled out of there if he ain't getting it together. Guys are not going to play that. They put Hayner ass in the street for that spot because they understand, like the Pelicans, the team next in the same facility, it ain't about all this long-winded shit, for real. It ain't about long-winded down this because you already been waiting 4 years. You supposed to wait 4 more years to win a playoff to even be decent? You've been waiting for 4 years. You say it's going to be a rebuild. It's not a rebuild. It's a remodel. You ain't raising the building to the ground. When you got to rebuild everything, that's every damn thing. Your offensive line need to be rebuilt. All this stuff rebuilt. You got players right now ready to contend. You just need somebody to inspire and install an identity. Come on. Y'all, my people know this. You can't win no games without no damn identity. I don't care if you're a football team, basketball team, baseball team. Hell, if you're a boxer, you got to have an identity and stick to what you know. Was the Saints' identity for the last 4 years? What was their identity? What did they do well besides fail consistently? That's what I'm saying. A coach has to install a mindset and identity for his team to play behind. We simply didn't have that the last 4 years. That's the coach's main responsibility when he stepped through the door, is to install an identity for which his team to play by. You heard Drew talk about Tomlin. Tomlin is true to the identity of the team. It's a blue collar team that's rough, tough, that'll knock the piss out of you, that's going to run the ball and play tough football. It's not a good place to go up and play. That's the identity that we need to have. The region is giving you the identity that we need to have. When you come to the Superdome, we're going to knock the piss out of you. We're going to have you scared. You're not going to come down here thinking you can get an easy win. And if you win, you're going to know that you was in a dog fight coming down here in the city of New Orleans. That's what you want to have. Whether you're the Pelicans or the Saints, you got to have that type of identity and speak to the strength and the resolve and the resilience and the toughness that hurricanes and floods and depressions and crime and every and anything that you can imagine did not sour the region or the people. They still fighting, they still positive, they still strong, and they still head first, and you can't play with them people. That's the bottom line. That's what I'm talking about. If you can tap into that, then watch how you grow, because that is the region's mindset and identity. And if you can do that, then you're doing something.